Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says to see the truth does not depend on a big intellect or a small intellect. It depends on being in contact with the truth and the mind silent and quiet to receive it. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 5, The Book of Love, Canto 3, Satyavan and Savitri, page 409. Allured to her lashes by his passionate words, her fathomless soul looked out at him from her eyes. Passing her lips in liquid sounds it spoke. This word alone she uttered and said all. O Satyavan, I have heard thee and I know. I know that thou and only thou are he. Then down she came from her high carven car, descending with a soft and faltering haste, her many-hued raiment glistening in the light, hovered a moment over the wind-stirred grass, mixed with a glimmer of her body's ray, like lovely plumage of a settling bird. Her gleaming feet upon the green gold sward scattered a memory of wandering bees, and lightly pressed the unspoken desire of earth, cherished in her too brief passing by the soil. Then, flitting like pale brilliant moths, her hands took from the sylvan verge's sunlit arms a load of her jewel faces, clustering swarms, companions of the springtime and the breeze. A candid garland set with simple forms, her rapid fingers taught a flower song, the stanzate moment of a marriage hymn. Profound in perfume and immersed in hue, they mix their yearnings, colored signs, and made the bloom of their purity and passion one. A sacrament of joy in treasuring palms, she brought flower symbol of her offered life. Then, with raised hands that tremble a little now at the very closeness that her soul desired, this bond of sweetness, this bright union sign, she laid on the bosom coveted by her love. Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, book Question and Answers of 1950-51, date 30th December 1950. quotings from the book on education. Our Divine Mother has written, "We are not aiming at success, our aim is perfection. We are not seeking fame or reputation. We want to prepare ourselves for a divine manifestation." Question, sweet mother, what is perfection? For this, our Divine Mother says, some people put perfection at the apex. It is generally thought that perfection is the maximum one can do. But I say that perfection is not the apex, it is not an extreme. There is no extreme, whatever you may do. There is always the possibility of something better. And it is exactly this possibility of something better which is the very meaning of progress. Since there is no extreme, how can we attain perfection? For this, the child says, sweet mother, if we make progress, could it be said that we are going towards perfection? For this, our Divine Mother says, you are mixing up perfection and progress. You do not necessarily progress towards perfection. In progress, there is perhaps a certain perfection, but it cannot be said that progress is perfection. Progress is rather an ascent. Perfection is a harmony and equilibrium. But what is equilibrium? You here has studied a little physics here, right? Says our Divine Mother. For this the child says, sweet mother, in a balance when the two scales are equally loaded, it is said that it is an equilibrium and that is established. For that our Divine Mother says, that's it. And so, what do I mean when I say that perfection is an equilibrium? When, in a given circumstance, what is against the realization, that is to say, the opposition, is conquered by a conscious force, the result is the manifestation of the realization. Yes, it is more or less like that, but I should put it otherwise, says our Divine Mother. The child says, sweet mother, the idea of perfection is something which comes to us from the divine. It descends from plane to plane and we climb back from plane to plane. For this, our Divine Mother says, this is still an evolutionary idea. It is always said that when a creation reaches its maximum possibility, this is perfection. But it is not that. And it is exactly against this idea that I protest. All this is only a rung in the progress. That is, nature goes to the extreme limit of what she has, and when she sees that she can go no further, can no longer stir, she destroys everything and begins again. This can't be called a perfection, for perfection cannot be demolished. Perfection will come only when nature can no longer undo what she has begun. For the moment, there is no instance where she has not successively undone what she has begun, believing that it was not enough or it was not that which she wanted to do. Hence, it cannot be said that she has attained perfection in her creation. It should be the maximum only if she had no need to undo what she has done. For this, the child says, sweet mother, you say that we do not seek success, but is not success a sort of perfection? For this, our Divine Mother says, for the ordinary human mentality, success is perhaps a perfection, but not for us. Perfection is not a static state, it is an equilibrium. But a progressive, dynamic equilibrium. One may go from perfection to perfection. There can come a state from which it would not be necessary to descend into a lower rung in order to go further. At the moment, the march of nature is like that, but in this new state, instead of being obliged to go back to be able to start again, one can walk always forward without ever stopping. Our Divine Mother says, as things are, one comes to a certain point, and as human beings, as they are at present, cannot progress indefinitely. One must pass to a higher species or leave the present species and create another. The human being as he is, the human being as he is at the moment, cannot attain perfection unless he goes out of himself. Man is a transitional being. In ordinary language, it may be said, oh, this man is perfect, but that is a literary figure. The maximum a human being can attain just now is an equilibrium which is not progressive. He may attain perhaps a static equilibrium, but all that is static can be broken for a lack of progress. For this, the child says, Sweet Mother, is not perfection the fulfillment of the divine in all parts of the being? For this, our Divine Mother says, No. What you are thinking of is again a rung in progress and not perfection. Now, we are going to try and find a definition which can fit all instances, that is, the individual, the collectivity, the earth, and the universe. We may say that perfection will be attained in the individual, the collectivity, on the earth and in the universe when, at every moment, the receptivity will be equal in quality and quantity to the force which wants to manifest. That is the supreme equilibrium. Hence, there must be a perfect equilibrium between what comes from above and what answers from below. And when the two meet is perfect equilibrium, which is a realization in constant progress. Wordings from the book on education. It is better to be than to seem. We do not need to appear to be good if our sincerity is perfect. And by perfect sincerity, we mean that all our thoughts, feelings, sensations, and actions should express nothing but the central truth of our being. For these words, our Divine Mother gives an explanation and says, when you are absolutely sincere, you make a constant effort to live in harmony with the highest idea or the ideal of your being, the truth of your being. At every moment, in all that you think, all that you feel, and all that you do, you try as perfectly as possible, as completely as possible, to put yourself in harmony with the highest ideal, or if you're conscious of it, with the truth of your being, then you have reached true sincerity. And, says our Divine Mother, if you are like that, if truly you do not act from egoistic motives or for personal reasons, if you act guided by your inner truth, that is, if you are perfectly sincere, it is absolutely the same to you whether the whole world judges you in one way or another. In the state of perfect sincerity, you do not need to appear good or to be approved by others, for the first thing you experience when you are in harmony
with your true consciousness is that you do not care what you look like. Whether you look like this or you look like that, whether you seem indifferent, cold, distant, proud, all this is of no importance, provided, I repeat this, you are absolutely sincere. That is, you never forget that you live in order to realize your inner central truth. Question, sweet mother. Does not perfection consist in pleasing the divine and no one else? For this, our divine mother says, yes, if you like. But when one is not absolutely sincere, one deceives oneself very easily. And if one feels less comfortable, one says, oh, I'm sure that I please the divine. Next date, 4th January 1951, our Divine Mother reads a line from the article Transformation on Education and then comments on it and says, we want an integral transformation, the transformation of the body and its activities. Formerly, when one spoke of transformation, one meant solely the transformation of the inner consciousness. One tried to discover in oneself this deep consciousness and rejected the body and its activities like an encumbrance and an useless thing in order to attend only to the inner movement. Sri Aurobindo declared that this was not enough. The truth demanded that the material world should also participate in this transformation and become an expression of the deeper truth. But when people heard this, many thought that it was possible to transform the body and its activities without bothering in the least what was happening within. Naturally, this is not quite true. Before you can take this work of physical transformation, which of all things is the most difficult, your inner consciousness must be firmly established, solidly established in the truth, so that this transformation may be the final expression of the truth, final for the moment at least. Our Divine Mother says the starting point of this transformation is receptivity. We have already spoken about it. That is the indispensable condition for obtaining the transformation. Then comes the change of consciousness. This change of consciousness and its preparation have often been compared with the formation of the chicken in the egg till the very last second, the egg remains the same. There is no change, and it is only when the chicken is completely formed, absolutely alive, that it itself makes with its little break a hole in the shell and comes out. Something similar takes place at the moment of the change of the consciousness. For a long time, you have the impression that nothing is happening, that your consciousness is the same as usual. And if you have an intense aspiration, you can feel a resistance as though you were knocking against a wall which does not yield. And when you are ready within, a last effort, the pecking in the shell of the being, and everything opens and you are projected into another consciousness. Our Divine Mother says, I said that it was a revolution of the basic equilibrium, that is, a total reversal of consciousness comparable with what happens to light when it passes through a prism. Or it is as though you were turning a ball inside out, which cannot be done except in the fourth dimension. One comes out of the ordinary three-dimensional consciousness to enter the higher fourth dimensional consciousness and into an infinite number of dimensions. This is the indispensable starting point. Unless your consciousness changes its dimension, It will remain just what it is with the superficial vision of things, and all the profundities will escape you. Is there anyone here who had already had the experience of this reversal of consciousness and who can explain what has experienced? Says our Divine Mother.
Prayers and Meditations, November 2nd, 1912. Translated by Sri Aurobindo, all revised and published under his guidance. Although my whole being is in theory consecrated to Thee, O Sublime Master, who are the life, the light, and the love in all things, I still find it hard to carry out this consecration in detail. It has taken me several weeks to learn that the reason for this written meditation, its justification, lies in the very fact of addressing it daily to Thee. In this way, I shall put into material shape each day a little of the conversation I have so often with Thee. I shall make my confession to Thee as well as it may be, not because I think I can tell Thee anything, for Thou art Thyself everything, but our artificial and exterior way of seeing and understanding is, if it may be so said, foreign to Thee, opposed to Thy nature. Still, by turning towards Thee, by immersing myself in Thy light at the moment when I consider these things little by little, I shall see them more like what they really are, until the day when, having made myself one in identity with Thee, I shall no more have anything to say to Thee, for then I shall be Thou. This is the goal that I would reach. Towards this victory, all my efforts will tend more and more. I aspire for the day when I can no longer say I, for I shall be Thou. How many times a day still I act without my action being consecrated to Thee. I at once become aware of it by an indefinable uneasiness, which is translated in the sensibility of my body by a pang in my heart. I then make my action objective to myself, and it seems to me ridiculous, childish, or blameworthy. I deplore it for a moment. I am sad until I dive into Thee, and there, losing myself with a child's confidence, await from Thee the inspiration and strength needed to set right the error in me and around me, two things that are one. For I have now a constant and precise perception of the universal unity, determining an absolute interdependence of all actions.